The air in the packed Manhattan conference room felt electric that morning, a mixture of expensive cologne, freshly pressed suits, and the unmistakable tension that always accompanies serious money. The 2025 Global Investment Summit had drawn the financial elite from every corner of the world, but nobody expected what was about to happen when Donald Trump took the stage. The former president and current market guru had been unusually quiet about economic matters for weeks, leading to whispers among Wall Street insiders that something big was brewing. What he was about to reveal would send shockwaves through the global economy and leave financial experts scrambling to reposition billions in assets before it was too late. The summit organizer, a typically composed Harvard economist, seemed unusually nervous as she approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice slightly wavering, "our next speaker needs no introduction." The crowd's murmurs faded into an expectant silence. However, I must remind everyone that the opinions expressed today are those of the speakers and not necessarily those of the summit or its sponsors. This unusual disclaimer only heightened the tension in the room. What was coming that required such a warning? As Donald Trump strode confidently toward the stage, the crowd's reaction was immediate, a mixture of enthusiastic applause and tense whispers. The contrast couldn't have been more striking, some leaning forward eagerly while others shifted uncomfortably in their $5,000 chairs. Trump adjusted the microphone, his expression unreadable as he surveyed the audience of financial heavyweights. "Before I reveal what happened next, I want to thank you for joining us on Financial Truth Network. If you're new here, we bring you the market insights the mainstream financial media doesn't want you to hear. Hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications so you don't miss our upcoming exclusive with the Treasury Secretary next week. Trust me, after what you're about to learn today, you'll want to stay informed." "I've been watching something develop for months now," Trump began, his voice carrying that distinctive blend of New York directness and business authority. "Something that none of the so-called experts on CNN or in the Washington Post are talking about." He paused, looking directly at the CNBC crew filming in the corner. "Maybe they don't see it, or maybe they don't want you to see it." The crowd stirred. In the front row, Janet Preston, CEO of Global Investment Partners with over $500 billion in managed assets, subtly reached for her phone. Her fingers hovered over the screen, ready to text her trading desk at a moment's notice. 3 seats down, Senator Williams, head of the banking committee, leaned forward, his brow furrowed in concern. "The markets are heading for a fundamental realignment," Trump continued, each word measured and deliberate. "Not a correction, not a recession, a complete restructuring of how global wealth flows." He reached for a glass of water, the silence in the room so complete you could hear the ice cubes clink against the crystal. "And almost nobody is prepared for it." A financial reporter from Bloomberg raised his hand, unable to contain himself. "Mr. Trump, with all due respect, what specific indicators are you basing this prediction on? The Fed's projections show stable growth for the next—" Trump's slight smile cut him off more effectively than any words could have. "The Fed," he said, the 2 words dripping with a mixture of amusement and disdain. "The same Fed that missed the 2008 housing crisis? The same Fed that told you inflation was transitory back in 2021? A few uncomfortable laughs rippled through the audience. "Let me tell you something about predictions from establishment institutions. They're designed to prevent panic, not to prepare you for reality." In the third row, Alexander Chen, managing director of Pacific Rim Investments, whispered something to his assistant, who immediately stood and slipped out of the room. Those nearest the door would later report that they heard him making urgent phone calls in Mandarin in the hallway. Whatever Trump was about to say, some weren't waiting to hear it in full before taking action. "I've built my success on seeing shifts before they happen," Trump continued, his confidence unwavering. "When everyone was investing in one direction, I often went the opposite way. Why? Because I trust what I see, not what I'm told to believe." He gestured to the PowerPoint screen behind him, which remained conspicuously blank. "I didn't bring fancy charts or complex models. Those can be manipulated. Instead, I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing on the ground, in real businesses, with real people, making real decisions." The tension in the room had become almost unbearable. Several attendees had discreetly opened trading apps on their phones beneath the conference tables. A representative from a major sovereign wealth fund was frantically texting, his fingers moving so fast they were almost a blur. Whatever was coming, no one wanted to be the last to react. Trump's demeanor suddenly shifted. The showman stepped aside, and in his place stood the serious businessman who had navigated decades of economic turbulence. There are 5 key sectors of the American economy that are showing signs invisible to traditional analysis, he said, his voice dropping slightly, forcing everyone to lean in closer. And when these 5 dominoes fall, and they will fall, the repercussions will reshape global markets for the next decade. At this moment, Janet Preston's phone buzzed loudly, breaking the spell momentarily. She glanced down, her face draining of color as she read whatever message had come through. Her reaction wasn't lost on those sitting nearby, who exchanged nervous glances. What did she know? Had her team already uncovered what Trump was about to reveal? The first sector, Trump continued, seemingly unperturbed by the interruption, is real estate, not residential, commercial. He paused, letting the words sink in. The pandemic changed how Americans work forever. Yet we still have billions of dollars of investment trapped in office buildings that will never again see full occupancy. The smart money has been quietly exiting this sector for months. The not-so-smart money is about to learn a very expensive lesson. A murmur swept through the room. Several attendees from major real estate investment trusts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Trump noted their reactions with a knowing glance before continuing. The second sector is more surprising. American agriculture is undergoing a technological revolution that's being completely overlooked by urban-based analysts. His eyes swept the room, taking in the predominantly coastal, city-dwelling crowd. Precision farming, AI-driven crop management, vertical farming, these aren't just buzzwords. They're creating an entirely new economic landscape that will disrupt traditional agricultural investing within 18 months. In the back of the room, Congressman Davis, representing one of Iowa's farming districts, nodded slowly, his expression a mixture of concern and validation. He'd been trying to draw attention to these shifts for years, but Wall Street had largely ignored the heartland's transformation. The third sector, Trump continued, now fully in command of the room, is energy, but not in the way you might think. He paused, scanning the audience, his gaze lingering momentarily on representatives from several major oil companies. Everyone's focused on the wrong metrics. It's not about oil versus renewables anymore. It's about energy storage and distribution. And there's a fundamental shift happening that's about to blindside traditional energy investors. The door at the back of the conference room opened, and several more attendees slipped out, phones pressed to their ears. They couldn't wait to hear the rest. They needed to act now. Trump watched them go with a slight smile. Some people are already making moves, smart, but they only have part of the picture. The atmosphere in the room had transformed from professional interest to something approaching alarm. A Wall Street Journal reporter was frantically taking notes, his pen moving so quickly across the page it seemed in danger of tearing the paper. A senior portfolio manager from Fidelity had abandoned all pretense of casual interest and was openly recording the speech on his phone, likely streaming directly to his analytics team. The fourth sector is healthcare, but specifically the intersection of AI and personalized medicine. Trump's voice grew more intense. The companies that everyone's watching aren't the ones that will lead this revolution. The real innovation is happening in smaller labs, in partnerships between tech companies and research universities that rarely make headlines. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a biotech venture capitalist sitting near the front, nodded almost imperceptibly. Her firm had been quietly investing in exactly such partnerships for the past 2 years, well ahead of the major investment banks. The fifth sector, Trump said, his voice now so commanding that not a single person in the room was looking at their phone, is perhaps the most significant. He paused again, building anticipation masterfully. It's about the fundamental structure of finance itself. Decentralized systems aren't just coming, they're already here, operating in parallel to traditional banking, growing stronger every day while the financial establishment continues to dismiss them. At this, the representative from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York closed his eyes briefly, his expression pained. This was obviously not the first time he'd heard such predictions, But something about Trump's confidence made this time different. Now, Trump continued, his energy building rather than waning, let me tell you what happens when these five sectors transform simultaneously. He leaned forward slightly. We're not talking about a market correction. We're talking about a complete reordering of economic winners and losers. We're talking about trillions, yes, trillions with a T, in wealth transferring from those who fail to adapt to those who anticipate the changes. The room had gone completely still. Even the most skeptical attendees couldn't help but be affected by Trump's absolute conviction. Whether they believed him or not, the power of his certainty was undeniable. You might be wondering, Trump said, his tone shifting slightly, becoming more conversational, why I'm sharing this with you today. Why not keep this analysis to myself and my closest advisors? He smiled, that famous smile that had launched countless memes and magazine covers. Some would say that's a smart play. Keep the insights private, make the moves quietly, reap the rewards silently. He shook his head slowly. But that's not leadership. That's not how you build lasting success. True leadership means sounding the alarm when you see danger coming, even when it makes you unpopular, even when people call you crazy. He pointed to a financial news anchor in the audience known for his skepticism about Trump's economic views. Even when certain networks will spend weeks trying to discredit what I'm telling you today, the anchor in question shifted uncomfortably, aware that all eyes had turned to him. Trump continued, undeterred. I've been called a lot of things over the years, some fair, some very unfair. A ripple of laughter passed through his supporters in the audience. But no one has ever successfully called me wrong about market trends. Not in the long run. And now came the moment that would transform this speech from merely controversial to truly explosive. Trump pulled a single sheet of paper from his jacket pocket. I've prepared a list of specific investment sectors and companies that my team believes are positioned to either benefit tremendously or suffer catastrophically from the coming realignment. The energy in the room shifted instantly. Phones were raised, cameras focused. This was no longer just provocative economic theory. This was actionable intelligence from one of the world's most successful businessmen. Before he could continue, the summit organizer hurried to the stage, whispering urgently in Trump's ear. The microphone partially picked up her concerned words. SEC regulations, forward-looking statements, liability issues. Trump listened politely, nodded, then turned back to the audience with a knowing smile. I've just been reminded about certain regulatory constraints. Apparently, some people are concerned about market volatility if I share too many specifics. His tone made it clear what he thought of such concerns. So let me put this another way. He carefully refolded the paper and returned it to his pocket, triggering visible disappointment throughout the audience. But Trump wasn't finished, not by a long shot. Instead of telling you which specific companies to watch, let me tell you what to look for. His expression became intensely serious. Look for businesses that are structurally adaptable, not just performing well in the current system. Look for leaders who talk about transformation, not optimization. And most importantly, look for signs that the traditional financial gatekeepers are actively trying to dismiss or discredit certain market segments. Senator Williams stood suddenly, drawing all eyes in the room. Mr. Trump, are you suggesting that federal financial regulations are preventing Americans from accessing legitimate investment opportunities? His tone was measured but carried an unmistakable challenge. Trump met his gaze steadily. Senator, I'm suggesting that the American people deserve to know when major economic shifts are coming, especially when those shifts might impact their retirement savings, their children's college funds, their financial futures. He paused, then added, wouldn't you agree? The tension between the two men was palpable, two visions of America's economic future facing off in real time. Finally, Senator Williams nodded curtly and sat down, but the damage was done. His reaction had only lent credibility to Trump's claims that establishment figures were uncomfortable with his message. Let me share something personal, Trump continued, his voice taking on a different quality, more reflective, almost intimate despite the large room. I've had my ups and downs in business. Everyone knows that. I've been at the very top, and I've faced serious challenges. The audience was completely silent, captivated by this unexpected turn. What separates the ultimate winners from the losers isn't avoiding every market downturn or making perfect investments every time. It's having the courage to see reality clearly when everyone else is caught in wishful thinking. He pointed to his temple. It's trusting your instincts when the experts are selling you a convenient story that doesn't match what you're seeing with your own eyes. In the audience, Janet Preston had stopped looking at her phone entirely. Her gaze was now fixed on Trump, her expression unreadable, but intensely focused. Whatever she had initially thought of his predictions, something had clearly shifted in her assessment. America has always prospered through adaptation and innovation, Trump continued, his voice growing more passionate. From the Industrial Revolution to the digital age, it's been our ability to embrace change, not resist it, that has maintained our economic leadership. The coming market realignment will be no different. There will be winners and losers. The only question is, which will you be? The implications hung in the air. This wasn't just economic theory. It was a call to action, a challenge to everyone in the room to position themselves for the coming transformation. The tension had built to an almost unbearable level. "I'll leave you with this thought," Trump said, his voice now carrying that distinctive blend of authority and conviction that had won him millions of supporters. "The financial establishment will tell you that markets are rational, predictable, and best left to the experts to navigate. My lifetime of experience tells me something different, that markets are driven by human beings, with all their insights and blind spots, their courage and their fear." He surveyed the room one final time, making eye contact with key figures from Wall Street, Washington, and the international financial community. "The choice is yours. You can dismiss what I've shared today as the opinions of someone outside the traditional financial establishment, or you can recognize that sometimes the most valuable insights come from those willing to challenge conventional wisdom." With that, Trump nodded once, said a simple "thank you," and stepped away from the podium. The applause began hesitantly, then grew stronger, though noticeably not universal. As he made his way off the stage, audience members were already on their phones, some speaking in urgent whispers, others typing frantically. Within 24 hours, trading volumes would reach unusual levels in all 5 sectors Trump had mentioned. Within a week, several major investment banks would issue special reports addressing the potential for structural market realignments. And within a month, the first of Trump's predictions would begin to visibly materialize, sending shockwaves through global markets and leaving financial experts scrambling to explain how they had missed what now seemed obvious. The question now facing every investor, from Wall Street professionals to everyday Americans with 401ks, was simple but profound. In a financial landscape undergoing historic transformation, would they have the courage to adapt before it was too late? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. The financial world would never be quite the same after Donald Trump's remarkable prediction.